Hello everyone, my name is the Frontline Field Historian. I hope you guys are having a good day. This video is made as a video game review for the video game Star Wars Outlaws, which released back in August 2024. Initially I heard a lot of negative reviews about this game, and that kind of made me stay away from it for a long time. But I picked this game up on sale on Steam, I want to say a few months ago, and I recently completed it. And it's a pretty good game. I just wanted to make this video game review as an honest video gamer and everything who's also a Star Wars fan. I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan ever since I could remember and everything. I'm also in my early 30s as well. So, I don't really have a lot of time to play video games as much as I used to, or as much as I'd like to. I'm also in work and school, so hearing those video game reviews really sticks out to people like me, I'd want to say, especially when you're considering something to spend your time on and everything. And I just kind of wanted to make this video game review sort of to kind of clear the air and give my perspective on things. I hear there's a lot of hate for this game, and after playing it and completing the main story, I mostly just completed the main story. I didn't really do any side quests. I'd want to say that this is a pretty solid game. I'd want to give it like a 9 out of 10. Honestly, mostly because of the story. It's a pretty decent story. It's centered around the original trilogy, and it's kind of based between post Empire Strikes Back and then a little bit before Return of the Jedi and everything. So this is like way after Andor, way after Rogue One and everything like that, and the New Hope and everything like that too. So yeah, the time frame is pretty interesting, but it really shines through because of its world building. I'd want to say this game is mostly focused around the underworld of Star Wars and everything like that. So you're working with a lot of syndicates, like the Hutts, the Hutt Cartel, and the Pike Syndicate, and Crimson Dawn as well, which is from the solo Star Wars story and everything. And I don't want to really give out any spoilers too. But the gameplay itself is really fun too. It's kind of like an Uncharted game, or kind of like an Assassin's Creed game too, which makes sense since this is made from Ubisoft and everything. And I like Assassin's Creed games too, and I do like Star Wars games, so it kind of came out pretty well, I'd want to say. I'd want to say that like one thing that I can kind of appreciate from this game though is the world building and everything, just them kind of exploring the underworld side of Star Wars and everything like that, and also spending time to kind of show the perspective of what life in this universe is like from a non-Force user, which is kind of unlike Cal Kestis' story in Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor and everything like that. When you're playing as Kay Vess, which is the main character of Star Wars Outlaws and stuff, you kind of feel limited and everything. You can't really carry any big kind of guns with you and everything like that. You just have your blaster at your side and whatever you come across and everything like that too. You also have a companion too named Nyx, and that kind of mixes up the gameplay a little bit. But the majority of this game is mostly centered around stealth, I want to say. So at times it kind of feels like an Assassin's Creed game with a Star Wars skin slapped on top of it and everything. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. When it comes to the story itself, I don't want to give out too many spoilers or anything like that. It felt very fulfilling by the time I got towards the end of it and everything like that. It kind of reminded me of Mass Effect a little bit, because you're kind of like building up your own crew and everything like that for like a big kind of like heist and stuff, but I don't really want to go into details. And you're doing all this while balancing your relationships and your partnerships with the different syndicates as well, like the Hutt Cartel that I mentioned earlier, the Pike Syndicate, and Crimson Dawn. And there's another one as well, but I don't really want to give out any spoilers. Something I've noticed though with Star Wars in general when it comes to this direction of storytelling and everything is that it kind of centers around the original trilogy, just like The Mandalorian and just like Ahsoka and stuff. I don't really mind that too much, but they're definitely fleshing out like every crevice of the original trilogy when it comes to these video games and these animated shows and everything like that, which is fine. Like my own personal opinion though, I kind of wish they made a video game like this for, maybe like The Force Awakens and the prequel trilogy and everything like that. I think that would kind of help bridge the kind of gaps that we've seen between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. And I feel like The Mandalorian is kind of trying to do that a lot, especially with Season 3 and, I don't know what they really have in store for us when it comes to the new The Mandalorian and Grogu movie 2 and everything. But yeah, even though it's tied to the original trilogy, I don't necessarily think that it's bad. It's still pretty fun. You see like a lot of the same video games that you kind of played with before in video games such as Battlefront 2 or even Star Wars Jedi Outcast and everything. As you can see right here, I'm using the heavy repeater blaster, which is like from Jedi Academy, I'd want to say, which came out like in the early 2000s, and that's always really cool to see, and things like that. And also there's like ship gameplay too. You kind of go into outer space and everything, and you get to take off from the planets that you visit and everything like that, and also get to land on them. And you're also kind of like stuck fighting battles that you might not want to be a part of when you see some stuff going down in orbit between two different syndicates or cartels or whatever, or between like the Empire and someone else. So that is always really fun too. I just got the DLC for this game too, which is the one with Hondo from the Clone Wars animated show, and another one with Lando Calrissian, which is his younger self, I think, from Solo Star Wars Story, but I have to check that out to be sure. Overall though, once again, I'd want to give this game 9 out of 10. I would definitely recommend picking up this game if it's on sale, like on Steam or something like that, or on Epic Games Workshop, any of those platforms. I don't know if I can justify buying any game at full price in this economy and everything like that, mostly because I'm already like a grown person and stuff like that, so I want to be wise when I'm spending my money and everything, and my time as well, like I mentioned earlier. But I think you'll find that if you get this game on sale, and if you actually, just lock in and play it and stuff, and you're a Star Wars fan, you'll find that it's pretty enjoyable, and you'll have a good time and everything like that too. It's also pretty PG, like I don't know if that really matters too. There's not like a lot of blood or crazy deaths in this game too. It's not like a, God of War game or whatever, so I don't know, I just wanted to throw that in there too, and that's fine as well. This is like a Star Wars story as well, so, there's not a lot of crazy stuff in this kind of game, is what I want to say. Besides that, I kind of liked how they gave you an option to skip some of the mini games and everything when it comes to like slicing or hacking or whatever, and also like lock picking. You can like turn those options off, which are kind of appreciated and everything, since it can kind of save you time and everything like that too. And maybe you struggle with those, puzzles, like I don't want to say whatever, that's hard to do them or something like that, but maybe it could become tedious after a while, so you have that option to turn those kind of puzzles off and things like that. But yeah, it's a pretty solid game, pretty solid Star Wars story. If you find it on sale, I definitely recommend picking it up. I want to say that I kind of got invested in the story like halfway through. I kind of didn't really care about the story like the first half of the game, but then like in the second half of the game, something kind of happens to your companions. I don't want to spoil it or whatever, and I just felt like, just full on, locked in and everything like that. I just felt really immersed at that point, and I was like, I need to help out my companion, like full on John Wick mode at that point onward, and that's what honestly motivated me to finish playing the game, just like the storytelling part of it and stuff like that. Besides that, I definitely would want to see maybe more of this kind of stuff from Ubisoft or any other video game companies and everything like that. I know they had a game plan called Star Wars 1313, which is centered around like a bounty hunter and everything like that, and I was really excited for that game a long time ago, but that one was unfortunately canceled, and they took elements from that game to make Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which turned out to be a pretty good game too and everything. But yeah, I'd want to say that this game is definitely worth the time and money you pay for it, depending if you get it in the sale. And don't believe everything that you read online. It's a pretty good story and it's a pretty decent game. But if you're like a half kind of in Star Wars fan and you're not really sold on it completely, and stealth games aren't really your kind of thing, then I want to say maybe pass this one up, because it's mostly based off stealth until like the later half of the game, where you're kind of getting better upgrades and everything, and you're able to blast your way through situations, and that's what I kind of found myself doing a lot towards the end. Like I was like, nice, I can stop sneaking around, and I just started blasting people, and it's a lot of fun, honestly, especially with some of the guns you get to play with and hear and everything like that. The music's also pretty decent. They use a lot of music from the original trilogy, and everything. I always loved that a lot. I think that one thing to the sequel trilogy, that The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, were really lacking. Not that I'm a musician or anything like that. I'm just like a fan. Once again, is that there wasn't really a lot of good like musical scores in the prequel trilogy. There's no like Duel of Fates or anything like that, and that kind of sucks. This game has some pretty decent soundtrack that makes you feel like immersed in that Star Wars universe and everything like that too. Besides that, you have a speeder that makes traversing things a lot easier too. So I'd want to say it's a pretty fast-paced game, not like that Dark Souls kind of vibe that Star Wars Jedi Survivor was going after. This is more of an arcadey kind of Star Wars, like Jedi Academy kind of successor, I'd want to say, and everything like that. Even though you're not like a Jedi in this game and everything, like being able to explore and find puzzles and do Easter eggs, it's kind of more lined up like that. Alright, thank you. Have a good day.